Ladies and gentlemen, Plunky and Oneness.
Good evening and welcome to the Virginia Museum Theater. It's Black History Month and we're Plunky and Oneness. We're going to start off with a funky jam with Funk Jam. 1, 2, 2. Well, all right. We're hoping you're jamming already out there and having a good time. It's Black History Month, so I'm going to start with a song called Make a Change. But before I do that, I'm going to play some African sax. 1, 2, 3. There's a message in this music. The message is it's on you and me to make a change. We gotta change this environment, change this society, change. It's Black History Month, and so we hearken back to our ancestors. We pay homage to our ancestors and our family tree. Think about the tree of your family, 'cause they had life to give, so a dream would live. And you are who you are, 'cause that tree has grown thus far. And now it's up to you to see it through. Has it ever crossed your mind why you're living in this space and time? Well, I think that I know why. 'Cause we are living so a dream won't die. Whose blood is flowing in your veins? It's your ancestors. Come on now, it's time to use your brains. Things don't have to stay the same. We're here to tell you that it's on you and me to make a change. It's on you 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 and me to make a change. It's on you, it's on me. It's on you and me to make a change. Well, I tell you, actually, we are just one great big family. Different roots to the same tree. Many colored leaves now, can't you see? Whose blood is flowing in your veins? It's your ancestors. Come on now, it's time to use your brains, use your brains. And things don't have to stay the same. We're here to tell you that it's on you and me to make a change. It's on you to make a change. You should know it by now. Sing it with me, say. It's on you and me to make a change. It's on you, it's on me. It's on you and me to make a change. It's on you and me to make a change. It's on you and me to make a change. Everybody sing it again, say. It's on you to make a change. It's on you, it's on me. It's on you and me to make a change. It's on you and me to make a change. It's on you and me to make a change. Come on, everybody say. It's on you to make a change. It's on you, it's on me. It's on you to make a change. It's on you and me to make a change. It's on you and me to make a change. It's Black History Month in 2022. This is our time. This day is yours and mine. This is our time. This age is yours and mine. This is our time. 1, 2, 3. Time, use it. Time, choose it. Time, use it. Time, don't lose it. This is our time. This day is yours and mine. This is our time. It's our time. It's our time. This way is yours and mine. 2022. This is Aquarius. This age is yours and mine. I want you to know that this is our time. Each and every day is yours and mine. Give me some John Coltrane. Living my life as a jazz solo. I am streams and screams and recurring themes. I riff by cutting and pasting strands of intertwined melodies that spiral like ribbons of DNA, combined in a unique way to be me and my songs. I am inherited recurring themes, reminders of where we've been and where we're going, and by all means, making time or taking mine out of the quiet spots, surrounded by the hot spots while being so cool. My diatonic scales come in waves of bebop, and waves never stop. They could become a drone of the ordinary, but like bird, my every ebbing tide is potentially the last word, depending on how and when I'm heard. Like a jazz solo, I am different grooves at different tempos, harmonized, restructured, and inverted like you've never heard it. Smoothly hip when I downshift into a mellow dip, non-rushed and unpaused, firmly rooted in the cause, educated in the rules, schooled in being cool, and self-taught in the views found in the baptismal pool. Full-bodied, deep-toned, and getting deeper still, self-confident with a super strong will. I be styling and profiling, quoting great lines and stimulating great minds. On a roll and blowing down, I be throwing. While spiraling upwards, I am free as Ornette, free as the bird, free as the wind, free as fire, free as I dream, as I stream, as I beam, as I scream, as I scream, as I scream, my recurring themes, living my life as a John Coltrane solo. Afraid, y'all. Don't be afraid of freedom. Don't be afraid to be free. Let loose your inject mindset. Get your mindset to be free. Don't be afraid of freedom. Don't be afraid to be free. Let loose your inject mindset. Get your mindset to be free. Time, use it. It's our time, y'all. I'd like to do a song now. It's a romantic song that Carl likes a lot, and Chip likes it too. This is a song called Only You. Everybody, wherever you are, say only you.
Only you can satisfy me. Only you, I never let a day go by me. Only you, oh, only you.
Say it again, everybody say.
Only you, only you.
icon, trailblazer, living legend James Plunky Branch. That was the assignment, man. I think we're going to take set two, but I think you've given us more than enough to think on already. These fine musicians on stage with you have earned their break. Would you join me for a conversation? Well, Plunky, it has been a joy to work with you again. I was just saying, it's been nearly 2 years since the first time you appeared on this show out there under the lights of the Ligon. Talked about improvisation, the history of black music then. Before we get into our discussion for this edition, would you take a moment to tell the folks at home something about Mr. Plunky in your own words?
I am J. Plunky Branch, born and bred here in Richmond, Virginia. Been here most of my 74 years. I did take a brief break when I went to Columbia University in New York, and from there I lived in San Francisco for 2 years, and I have traveled near and far. I have gone to Europe to perform, to West Africa, to Cuba, to Brazil, to Guatemala. I often say about myself that I'm like a black Forrest Gump. I've ended up at these disparate places, sometimes with world important figures, and I just happen to be there. But throughout it all, I see myself on a two-way street. I go to these places like San Francisco where I encountered a group called Third Rail Communications. When I grew up in Richmond, I thought the world was only black people and white people. When I got to San Francisco, I worked with this group called Third Rail Communications. I didn't even know what Third World was, but it included Japanese people and Chinese people and Chicanos and Filipinos and all these rich tapestry of people working together in San Francisco. When I went back to New York, I worked with Ornette Coleman and Sam Rivers and Rahsaan Roland Kirk and these avant-garde saxophonists and avant-garde jazz musicians. And when I was in New York, I met Ornette Coleman, and 2 weeks after I met him, he said, "Plunky, I want you to come and keep my art gallery while I go to North Africa to record for 6 weeks." Okay. Now, either he was crazy or he could sense that I was an honest, loving person, but it was a great experience. With all those travels, I have brought back to Richmond the things that I've learned along the way. So from running Ornette Coleman's art gallery, I came back and established the first black arts gallery in the state of Virginia. This was before you were born. But my first exhibitor in my gallery was Murray DePillis, who went on to become Dean of the School of the Arts. Again, my Black Forrest Gump thing. But the two-way street of it is, when I go to all these disparate places and far-flung places, I carry Richmond with me, and I share some of what I learned in Richmond with those places. So I'm a cross-pollinator by trade.
You know, there's a lot of history and art and love right here in Richmond to share with the world.
Absolutely.
An ambassador like you is what we need.
Thank you.
Not just here, but everywhere. Walk us back, however long ago. What at first made you interested in taking up the craft?
Well, music was always my second love. I thought I was going to be a chemist. I grew up in the south side of Richmond. DuPont plant was there. I thought I was destined to be a chemist. I started studying chemistry at age 9. I was into my father's college chemistry book, and I was intrigued. I think I loved chemistry because I thought that it made me seem smart. But music was a second love. I took up the piano and was instantaneously gratified by it and pretty good at it. When we moved from South Side to the West End, the piano was too large to fit out of the door, so we had to leave it. And I ended up taking the clarinet and eventually the saxophone. What made me go into music as a profession was that, one, I wanted to be a R&B musician, because when I was growing up and listening to rock and roll and black soul music, there was a saxophone solo in the middle, and I wanted to be the guy to take that solo. I also got involved with the arts in general, not just music. In my travels and in my studies, I found that I didn't have to be a scientist in order to affect the world positively. I wanted to be a scientist because I thought I could create some new things and help. I took to heart the DuPont slogan that said, "Better things for better living through chemistry." And I wanted to better people's lives, so I thought I'd do it through chemistry. It wasn't until I got to Columbia University that I found that the liberal arts could also be a way that people could be affected positively. And so in my junior year, I left college, went to California, studied to be a jazz musician, had the great fortune to meet a South African Zulu musician whose name was Ndiko Taba. Ndiko Taba, I didn't click it right, but he taught me all about African music. And what he taught me, the lasting lessons that he taught me, involved the fact that the aesthetics of African art, and African music specifically, is not judged on what you do. It's judged on how you do it, the energy, the emotion you invest in it. And another thing, it's valued by what effect it has on the tribe, on the village, on the society. And so I've taken that to heart these last 45, 50 years, trying to affect the world positively through the arts, and here I am.
You know, we say almost weekly, I even say that almost weekly now, that it's my belief that a great educator makes all the difference here. You've just told us about the great inspiration of yours in learning about African music, but I wonder what sorts of lessons along the way about jazz, about improvisation, about the developing Afro-Futurism, where you find yourself, what sort of great lessons did you pick up, and can you share with us today?
Well, I would say jazz, people don't know about jazz. Not enough people know about jazz. But jazz music for me is largely improvisational, polyrhythmic, and very emotional. It's rooted in history. It has a language unto itself, but it communicates across language barriers. And so for me, that's important because as I travel around the world, sometimes I land in places where they don't speak English. But it's very gratifying to me that music can communicate across those language barriers. You and I might talk about Paris, France. And when I've gone to Paris, I've had the great experience of being accepted wildly with people screaming about my music. And you can tell from my performance tonight, my music is not just instrumentally based, it's a lot of words to it.
Right.
And I'm amazed that people who respond to me, even though they might not understand the language.
Right.
Similarly, I have encountered African music and African musicians, King Sunny Ade, who plays juju music. I love his music, though I don't speak Yoruba. I don't speak a word of it, but
Right.
I'm impacted. So one of the lessons that I have learned from my experience is that, you know, some of the things that we regard as barriers are actually artificial, that we can affect each other positively even if we don't understand the language, even if we don't know the song. It can appeal to us. And so that's the main message I get from jazz music. The secondary lesson is that jazz music has traveled the world like Plunky did. In fact, I go travel the world on the wings of jazz music. And there again, there are places on the planet that have opened themselves up to jazz music and allowed jazz music to affect it. The 1920s have been called the Jazz Age, and that's when jazz music migrated from here across the waters, really on the wings and backs of black musicians who happen to have been in the armed services and who played music and introduced jazz to Europe, but particularly in France. And so there are places on the planet, New York, for example, or Paris, France, that are home to jazz music. Japan has a great jazz music basis there. Places like Brazil and Cuba. Cuba is one of the most musical places I've ever been. And so I'm rambling, but the lessons are that you can learn from wherever you find yourself, and music can be your entree, your vehicle, the door opener, even when you don't speak the language.
Plunky, what happens when events like the Great Migration or the flight of black musicians to Paris, you mentioned specifically, what happens when you blend those ideas, those arts, those intellectual properties with things that may be a bit foreign to you?
Well, it's an interesting phenomena that I think occurs across specific disciplines in the arts. But one of the things that happens is that those arts kind of coalesce and they feed upon one another. So when you put a jazz musician or some jazz music around some writers, they will find themselves writing more rhythmically, more in depth, more improvisationally. And likewise, if you put some dancers around some painters, the dancers might be affected by the painters, and the painters may paint more poignantly. So one of the things that happens when people migrate is that they coalesce. They bring ideas from disparate places and then change the dynamic. I don't want to say change the spirituality, but change the dynamic, change the energy of a place. And people get comfortable with this new energy, and they get inspired by it. And that becomes kind of a cauldron, a kind of a whirlwind that feeds upon itself. And so you get photographers who go take pictures of jazz musicians, and jazz musicians who inspire dancers, and painters who paint in a different way because all these things have come together. And that happens with migration. That happens when people blend across, again, these artificial barriers, these barriers of race or gender or sexual orientation. And I know I'm sounding almost cliche when I say this, but if we let our guards down, we will find, with my experience, we will find that there's a rich tapestry of inspiration that's at the base of all these arts and of all this creativity that you might not find if you don't allow yourself to venture. So I applaud, I am so happy that there was a great migration of black people from the South going to the North, and a great migration of artists going from here to there and from there to here, because they teach us that we don't have to have these barriers be permanent, that we can learn from one another. You said earlier, a great teacher can make a great change in the world. Well, likewise, great migrations can cross-pollinate on a massive scale. I hope you allow me to ramble one more segment and say that, one of the great joys of travel for me is getting to go on a plane. And when you go on a plane, you get to look back down on our planet. Well, I haven't been as far out as Elon Musk or the billionaires to get to travel out of space, but some of the sensation is the same, that if you go high enough up, the 50,000-foot view of the planet, you will see that we're not much more than ants or sub-tribes or maybe gangs or maybe mobs, but we inhabit this planet, and we have to find ways to preserve it and ways to get along. It's an old way of thinking that has it that we have these barriers based on land masses and blocked by oceans or other natural phenomena. In fact, we now have a new way of looking at the place because we've gone high enough to look back and say, wow, the world doesn't begin and end with Richmond, Virginia. It doesn't even just stop with the United States. We are actually on one place. We might speak different languages, but scientists tell us race is a human construct, a social construct, that under a microscope or under a powerful enough magnification, we're all very similar, 99.9999. You can't tell our race by our genes. We're all the same. We don't know that because we've had this break in human development based on the weaknesses of man to be enthused by gathering. It's a natural phenomenon to hunt and gather. But we've perverted that and into thinking that the more we have, the better off we are. But in fact, the more we're able to share, doesn't mean that you can't make as much money as you can eat. But the more we share, the better this place will be. And that's a new age thought. It's not new. It's not new to us. But and it may sound cliche. I apologize for that. But,
no need.
But sometimes you hear the same things with slightly different nuances, and a spark can go off. And that's the same spark that I hope happens in my music. When you listen to the music, I tell people I didn't invent the beats. I didn't invent the saxophone. I'm using tools. I'm doing that age-old thing. I'm standing on the shoulders of the people who came before me. But every person is a little bit different, and so Plunky might play a note or construct a lyric in such a way that a light will go off on some younger person or some person even older than me.
You know, you're telling a very familiar story that I don't think we talk about enough. You know, jazz certainly gives us a more recent idea of how culture comes together. It blends. You take one idea, take it someplace else. I recently got a chance to talk to a room of people about a flamenco, looking at the Romani people leaving the north of India, traveling around, escaping an invasion that was to come, and settling in Andalusia in Spain, south of Spain, mixing with Muslims and Jews and Moors, suffering in the face of Christian persecution, and developed this thing called flamenco that so few people understand. But without that blending of culture, that accepting of new ideas, we may not have it.
Right.
You know?
Yeah.
Tonight, I'm hearing many things from you. I learn from you every time I see you and hear you play, even if you don't know it. But not only are there a great cauldron of sounds, you use that word cauldron, I liked it very much, but there's a great collage, a great tapestry of meter and of rhythm. Where does that come from? How do you keep it so strong? And also, how are you performing it so exactly and precisely here tonight?
Well, it comes from my study of African traditions. It comes from my upbringing in the Baptist church. It comes from my father playing the piano. It comes from those R&B songs, Chuck Berry and all the Motown sounds and the Stax Bolt sounds. It comes from, you know, my growing up. It comes from a natural place, but at the same time, it comes from great perseverance. I never want people to think that even in the most natural circumstances with great musicians, much greater than I, prodigies, geniuses, I never want people to not be aware that great things takes effort, takes discipline, takes study, takes great teachers, takes inspiration. And so all of what you see tonight combines all those things. Now, one other thing that I would be remiss if I didn't say, it also, for me, I surround myself with these wonderfully talented musicians.
Yeah, that's something to say. Yeah.
You know, so in some ways I kind of cheat. I rely on them. In some ways I'm like Miles Davis, not as good as, but we share certain philosophies, and one of those is that I hire the right musicians and allow them to do what they do. I very rarely tell them anything. I tell them my composition, but those are merely starting points. Some of these musicians that are on stage tonight are people that I taught in college. The keyboardist and the guitarist I taught in college at Virginia Union.
Great educators.
Thank you. And the drummer is recent by comparison, but he is the son of one of James Brown's best drummers.
Wow.
Charlayne Green, my vocalist, has been singing for, I won't say how long because she doesn't look that she'd be old enough to be singing, but she's a phenomenal voice. And I tell them, here's the starting point. I tell them, sometimes I give them a kind of a gross instruction to say, tonight we're going to do this, we're going to make this or that point, but then you do it. I think the name of the band, Plunky and Oneness, says that whatever genre of music we play, it's all coming from a root. It's all one. It's all one. All of black music is one. Reggae music, hip hop music, Latin music, soul music, gospel music, it's all one. It all has polyrhythms. It all has improvisation. It's all invested with feelings. And if we're studied enough and confident enough in our travels, in our education, we can let it go and let it flow. We can let it go and let it flow, and then the music will take care of itself.
Oh, Plunky, I want to talk to you about so many things. West Africa, Yoruba, the impact of the griot in culture and society, the development of things like hip hop. I wasn't expecting the spoken word in the performance tonight, but I think we're out of time.
Well, I'm gonna use my last 30 seconds to say I have recently written a book.
Oh, okay.
It's my second book, but it's a book of poetry. It's called Juju Jazz Poetics. And it's 30 pieces. I've been writing poetry for 40 or 50 years. This has been just a collection of the high points. It's my first volume of poetry, and I want to present it to you.
Oh my goodness! I wouldn't expect. Oh my goodness! All right. Well, I'm gonna read this up tonight.
Good.
I also know, since we're taking some more time to share with each other, that you've got a bit of an exhibition traveling around, some history, maybe even some documentaries coming up.
Yes,
Tell us a little bit about your upcoming project.
Well, I have a documentary. We're very, very far into it, editing down to that point. It's a documentary about my first. I started a record label. It's called Blackfire Records in 1975, and I had a partner, Jimmy Gray. He passed away in 1999. Recently, we sold that catalog, but the people we sold it to are reissuing that whole catalog of music. So we've done a documentary that traces the history of that label and how we intersected with Black futurism. That our label, for example, we were the first to record a group called Experience Unlimited, which went on to become EU. That did the butt. We recorded avant-garde jazz people, Latin groups, reggae groups, and so that's very exciting. We also have an exhibit of the album covers, the Blackfire album covers, very colorful pieces, great black art. So a new book. The book, I am recording all of the 30 poems to music, so it will be a audio book, and I'm doing an album of the best 10 of 12 of them. I have a new album coming out in Europe, a new Oneness of Juju album, and I could go on, but we are out of time to tell you all that I'm doing these days.
Now,
so.
people are going to look you up with Google.
Yeah.
Google is a powerful thing. We've got to have you back for more
Thank you so much.
I mean, you've got another set here tonight, but I think we're going to bring you back. I got a great big sculpture garden out there that I love to fill with sound.
Oh, I'm looking forward to that.
I'm looking forward to just being in the crowd with you that night.
Thank you.
Plunky, I've enjoyed this. I always enjoy you. Every time I say your name, my mom always says, I love Plunky.
Oh, that's so nice of her. Tell her I love her back.
I'm going to tell her tonight.
Thank you so much.
Well, without any further interruption for me, are you ready for set 2?
I am. Let's do it.
Looking forward to it.
These are African rhythms passed down to us from the ancient spirits. Feel the spirit, a unifying force. Stand up and clap your hands. Move to the rhythms. Move to the rhythms. These rhythms say the meaning of life is love. The meaning of life is love. And even though these rhythms say that, I want you to know that, yes, although the world seems crazy lately, don't worry about a thing. We're going to be all right. The meaning of life is love. The meaning of life is love. The meaning of life is love. The meaning, hippie band. Hey! I know the world seems crazy, but don't worry about a thing. We're gonna be all right. That's the meaning of this song. I know the world seems crazy. We gonna be all right, y'all. It's Black History Month 2022.
I know the world seems crazy lately, but don't worry about a thing. We're gonna be all right. Yeah. I know the world seems crazy lately. Don't worry about a thing. We're gonna be all right. If you watch the news, you might get the blues. You might even shed a tear. Demented politicians are on the mission. They wanna go to some yesteryear. Oh, I know the world seems crazy lately. Don't worry about a thing. We're gonna be alright. Oh, I know the world seems crazy lately. Don't worry about a thing. We're gonna be alright. Don't sweat and give as good as you get. Hey, don't be afraid. Whoa. We've got the power at this crucial hour.
know the world seems crazy
lately. Don't worry about a thing. We're gonna be alright. I know the world seems crazy lately. Don't worry about a thing. We're gonna be alright. Despite all the clatter, remember our lives matter. We all are family, yeah. Our bond is strong as the day is long. We're gonna make it, you'll see, yeah. I know the world seems crazy lately. Don't worry about a thing. We're gonna be alright.
Don't you worry, don't you worry.
I know the world seems crazy lately. Don't worry about a thing. We're gonna be alright. Oh, I know the world seems crazy lately. Don't worry about a thing. We're gonna be alright. I know the world seems crazy lately. Don't worry about a thing. We're gonna be alright.
Like Bob Marley's song says, get up,
Stand up,
stand up for your rights. Everybody gotta
get up, stand up.
Don't give up the fight. Say it again, everybody
Get up, stand up.
stand up for your rights. Everybody gotta
Get up, stand up.
Don't give up the fight. There's a message in this music. Don't give up the fight. The world seems crazy, but we're gonna be all right. That's our message. Now we'd like to do a song called We Rise. We rise. We rise. One, two, three. You can do anything that you want to. You can have anything that you need. You can do anything that you want to. You can have anything you believe. You can do anything that you want to. You can have anything that you need. You can do anything that you want to. You can do anything.
Rise, rise, and we reach for the sky.
Rise up, rise up.
When we let spirit soar, we can have so much more.
We rise, we rise, we rise, we rise.
We rise, and we reach for the sky.
Rise up, rise up.
Resist is more to life than it seems.
Rise up, insist.
We can live out our dreams.
Rise up, resist. You can do anything that you want to. You can have anything that you need. You can do anything that you want to. You can do anything you believe. You can do anything that you want to. You can have anything that you need. You can do anything that you want to. You can do anything.
We rise, and we reach for the sky.
Rise up, resist.
When we let spirit soar,
Rise up, insist.
we can have so much more.
Rise up.
We rise, and we will be wise.
Rise up, resist.
There's more to life than it seems.
Rise up, insist.
We can live out our dreams.
Rise up.
Oh, yeah.
To be all you wanna be, you gotta know that you can. To go where you want, you need to have a plan. And not only have one, follow it. Pride, swallow it. When you fly, aim high. And don't worry about the landing. You'll succeed beyond your understanding. On your way, don't carry a load. Be the wizard at the end of the road. To have peace, fight the good fight. To find love, soar to higher heights. And once you're up high enough, big issues are small. Yes, we can master it all. Yes, master it all, master it all. We rise, we rise, we rise, we rise.
Rise and we reach for the sky.
Rise up, resist.
When we let spirit soar.
Rise up, insist.
And have so much more.
We rise, we rise, we rise.
We rise and we will be wise.
Rise up, insist.
There's more to life than it seems.
Rise up, resist.
So we can live out our dreams. Oh, yeah.
Be optimistic.
As long as you keep your head to the sky, you can win. As long as you keep your head to the sky. When in the midst of sorrow, you can't see up for looking down. A brighter day tomorrow will bring. Oh, you hear the voice of reason telling you this can never be done. No matter how hard reality seems, just hold on to your dreams. As long as you keep your head to the sky,
Be optimistic.
you can win. As long as you keep your head to the sky, you can win. As long as you keep your head to the sky, you can win. As long as you keep your head to the
You can win. You can be optimistic. You can have anything that you want. You can do anything that you want to do. These are African rhythms right here. Just groove with me, groove with me. Keep it right there and clap your hands off. Things are getting better. Things are getting better and better. Little by little, things are getting better and better. Say what? Things are getting better and better and better. Little by little, things are getting better. Things are getting better and better. Little by little, things are getting better and better. Things are getting better and better and better. Little by little,
things are getting better.
it don't mean a thing if it ain't got that swing. And we got a swing. A swing. In everything we got a swing. In every funky thing we got a swing. Yes, yes. In everything we got a swing. They walk.
In every funky thing we
little, things are getting better and better. Say what? Things are getting better and better and better. Little by little, things are getting better. I know it that things are getting better and better. Little by little, things are getting better and better. Things are getting better and better and better. Take me up, y'all.
things are getting better.
Everything, a swing. In
Everything we got
a swing. In every funky thing we got a swing. In everything we got a swing. In every funky, keep it right there, y'all. On the bass, Muzi on the bass, Muzi Phillips on the bass. In every funky thing we got a swing. Hey, on the guitar, Carl Lester Ill on guitar, swinging, y'all, swinging. Funky thing we got
a swing.
On the keyboards, Fabian Lance on the keyboard. In every funky thing we got
a swing.
In every funky thing we got. On vocalists, our first lady, our primary vocalist. This is Charlayne Chip Page Green. Swing, Chip, come on, come on.
A swing. In everything we've got a swing. In every funky thing we got a swing. In everything we got a swing.
A swing in everything on drums. Marcus Parker on drums. We are Plunky and Oneness, and these are African rhythms. These are African rhythms passed down to us from the ancient spirits. Feel the spirit, a unifying force. Stand up and clap your hands. Wherever you are, stand up and clap your hands. You can be at home or out there in the audience. Stand up and clap your hands. That's what the music tells you to do. Come on, come on. Get down, get off, come on. These are African rhythms. I recorded this song in 1975, before you were born, but it's still going strong all around the world because these are African rhythms. African rhythms. The rhythms keep us together.
Keep us together.
The rhythms get us together.
Get us together.
The rhythms
keep us
together.
Keep us together.
The rhythms
African rhythm.
get us together.
Make you clap your hands.
The rhythm
African rhythm.
keep us together.
Make you wanna dance.
The rhythm
African rhythm.
get us together.
Make you clap your hands.
The rhythm
African rhythm.
keep us together.
Make you wanna dance.
The rhythm. Let the rhythm take you. Let the rhythm take you to the truth. Let the rhythm get us together. The rhythms keep us together. Keep us together. The rhythms get us together. Get us together. The rhythms keep us together. Keep us together. The rhythms African rhythm. Get us together. Make it clap your hands. The rhythm African rhythm. Keep us together. They make it dance. The rhythm African rhythm. Get us together. Make it clap your hands. The rhythm African rhythm. Keep us together. They make it dance. The rhythm. Let the rhythm take you. Let the rhythm take you to the truth. Let the rhythm take you to the truth. Mother Africa. Let the rhythm take you to the truth. Mother Africa. Let the rhythm take you. Now. The rhythm. They dance to her life from the streets of Accra down to Soweto in South Africa. Fela in Lagos, his goddess Afrobeat. King Sunny Adejuju makes them move their feet. From Jamaica, the rhythms for Ja boys and Ja girls. Bob Marley's reggae music rocks the whole world. And music in Cuba and Puerto Rico. In all the islands, the drums make it go. From the north to the south, from the east to the west. African rhythms are the best. All the ways to keep on keeping on. Moving on up and keeping strong on cougars on drums and shaking tambourines and funky beatboxes and rhythm machines. We keep making deaf jams on all of these things, seminar, visions and rhyming our trains. Let the rhythm take you. Let the rhythm take you to the truth. Let the rhythm take you to the truth. Mother Africa. Let the rhythm take you to the truth. Mother Africa. Let the rhythm take you.
Now, right now.
DC's the capital of the go-go sound. The way to shake their booties, they be really throwing down. In Minneapolis, Prince rocks. Trey and Jai Hendrix and James Brown Stock. Ohio gave a show band to bump up the nation after Motown Act laid the foundation. Funkadelic made us smell it and try to make us eat it. Michael sacrificed his nose to try to beat it. New York disco was a dance sensation, but only after rhythm and blues migration. The last chorus Gil Scott to see the sugar hilling. Without them, all young rappers would be illin'. New Orleans gave Chicago the blues, and now house mixes are the Windy Town news. The rhythms of the cities with the hip-hop beats are African rhythms that would take it to the street. Let the rhythms take you. Let the rhythm take you to the truth. Let the rhythms take you to the truth. Mother Africa. Let the rhythm take you to the truth. Mother Africa. Let the rhythm take you.
Now, right now.
These are African rhythms. You've been listening to Plunky and Oneness, featuring Charlayne Green, Muzi on the bass, Carl Lester Ill on the guitar, Marcus Parker on the drums, and Fabian Lance on the keyboards. My name is Plunky. It's been my great pleasure to be here with you today, celebrating Black History Month and black music all the time. E for everybody. That's our signal for you to stand up and clap your hands. Come on, clap your hands, y'all. Clap your hands, y'all. Band, say yeah. Yeah! Say yeah, yeah. You've been listening to Plunky and Oneness, and we want to leave you with the following messages. Number one, when you hear good music, clap your hands. When you hear good music, get up and dance. When you hear good music, show your appreciation. Music is our universal language, so appreciate it. Number 2, when you're out here in the world, especially in Richmond, Virginia, but wherever you find yourself on the planet, if you see litter or trash, pick it up, you live here. Number 3, preserve our resources for this precious planet we live on. Number 4, combat and confront hypocrisy, bias, and any other negative emotions. It's important that you and I make a change in this planet. Number 6, when you see little people, children 15 years or younger, take care of them. They are our future. Treat them like your own. Number 7, when you get a chance to vote, vote. And then vote again after that, and vote every time you get a chance. Number 8, support your local arts, sciences, and especially your local musicians. Number 9, clap your hands again, clap your hands again, clap your hands again. And number 10, we want you to do one more thing for us, one more thing for us. We want you to do one more thing for us, and that is, y'all, everybody say yeah. Yeah. Good looking people say yeah. Yeah. Beautiful people say yeah. Yeah. Ugly people don't say nothing. Yeah. You're not that bad looking. Oh. Thank you very much. We'll see you next time. And thank you to the staff and management here at the Virginia Museum. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Oh my good, came in and cut up. Did you say ugly people don't say nothing?
I told them at the beginning, hear good music, respond. If they don't respond, you're ugly.
That's it. I love it. What a grouping of lessons from you all tonight. Thank you so much. Oh, and throwing them sticks around. I was never a drummer like that. Got me beat all the way. Wow, Plunky. Oneness. Thank you. I mean, we couldn't have done it without you. You know what? Who else we couldn't have done it without is Richmond Jazz Society. Sending you our way. Thank you to BJ and her team there. Thank you to Dominion Energy for helping to fund programs like this one, and in fact, this very program. Thank you to Remember Tommy Productions on the other end of those cameras, and to Chris mixing those sounds and lights behind me. Those of you at home, you know what's coming. Thank you for loving with us. Thank you for listening to us, and thank you for learning from us. In Richmond, Virginia, at the Virginia Museum of Fine Arts from the Leslie Cheek Theater stage, this has been our virtual Dominion Energy Jazz Around the Museum. I'm Robert Fennard. Good night.